percent sure if it will or not yet.
Have you met we have a full-time videographer. I don't know if you've seen our
I
creative team,
I was gonna
Miracle.
say I talked to him a little bit at the
Joel. Mm-hmm.
at the event, which is what it. Can you talk about that event? Is the first question pretty
Sure.
much?
Where should I put this? In my
Just
jacket or
yeah,
just on
that's
my
fine.
lap
Just
there?
like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Amanda Powers, club president, FC Tucson. You got that?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just making.
And then just tee up that question again.
Okay. There we. No.
You gotta tighten. I think you got it.
I know. Yeah, I think it's because I have that on there, so I was trying to take it off, and it wouldn't come off. See? There we go. Okay. And
And you want me looking this way too?
Yeah,
Okay.
please. Can you describe the event that took place on 22nd and 27th?
Oh yes. So this year we partnered with Gladden Farms, which is a new home builder out in Marana. And Gladden Farms, being in Marana, is their goal was to try to have as many people come out and visit their community as possible. And a lot of times when we work with sponsors, we always try to figure out what's your goal so that at the end of the season we can sit down and go, did we reach the goal? And so when we work with sponsors, we try to put, a meaningful sort of approach and proposal together of how we get their brand or their name out in front of the community. And one of our brand promises is to grow this game and give it away for free as much as possible to the community. And Gladden Farms loved that idea. And so what we were able to do was take some of our pro team players, our coaching staff, and host a totally complimentary clinic for kids ages 5 to 12 and allow them to, at novice levels, be able to learn certain clinic skills, sharpen what skills they do have, or just make some new friends. A lot of studies have shown that soccer and team sports are very good at developing social and emotional skills amongst kids. So, anytime that we're sort of at the center of trying to get kids outside and being healthy, working on their social and emotional skills, and then having like a sponsor like Gladden Farms want to, be able to give that away for free, we do that.
Sweet. And then, so this was the first year of that specific event then?
Yeah,
or?
well, we every year we do a certain amount of clinics. It's tough
Okay.
with our players' schedule to always coordinate. The guys, when they're on the road, we might have a few players behind. They might be injured or they might be dealing with something else. Stand by. I'm sorry, I'm on the.
I need your signature on this.
Oh, that's
Okie doke. She's so good.
She is, isn't she? That's the one she whipped up. Pretty impressive. I'll take a picture of it and text it back to you.
Sure.
So I don't officially work here right now.
Thanks, Justin.
No
Good
problem.
luck tonight.
Thank you. When night you want to come?
I'll text you.
Okay.
Well, it depends on how we're feeling.
That's understood.
No, I mean, I think part of the importance of having a professional soccer team in any city, particularly in smaller cities like Tucson, is where you have an ability to have a much higher impact when you're able to connect with your community and your fans, and the community knows who you are. And so for us as an organization, our strategy, our approach is we much rather be in front of places where we can see the whites of people's eyes and we can see their smiles rather than just doing digital advertising or anything like that. We like to make sure we're making human connections with people. And, a lot of our community outreach efforts, the Barrio to Barrio program, these clinics, really stems from the pandemic. And I had just moved here from Albuquerque in March of 2020. I moved here in January 2020, and then my husband came in March. And our season tickets went on sale March 11th, and then the season went on hiatus March 12th. And so, being an outsider to Tucson at a time when the city's now closing all its doors and walls to you to get to know the community, but you know that school-age children, college kids, anybody who's in school and developing right now is there's gonna be some effects from the closures of the schools and the pandemic. What is a professional soccer team's role in helping to give light to kids at a time like that? Those were the questions that I was asking myself. And so what we've been able to do is just say, okay, let's anticipate that kids might be struggling and need to be with other kids. What if we could have this platform? What if we can come to their neighborhood where they don't have to arrange for a ride? Maybe we can offer them free equipment, free cleats, free shin guards, so they look like the part, and make them feel more eager to want to try new things. So the impetus behind all of our clinics, depending on what we're trying to accomplish, it could be everything from just trying to create joy and curiosity to actually, having a paid clinic where kids are coming outside of their regularly scheduled training to kind of work one-on-one with my pro coaches, or let's just say we have a striker sort of camp where you're just working on goal scoring, or a goalkeeper camp. So we have a wide range, and it's just super important when communities like Tucson have professional teams at this level that they connect with the players, because in bigger markets or NBA or MLS teams, you don't get to have that access to the coaches and players. And so we feel like that's an important aspect of who we are and what we want our fans to know, is that they have access to the club in a lot of different ways.
Right. And yeah, it's like cool that they're staying after games a lot of times and doing autographs for the kids and stuff. That's pretty cool. And then, I mean, you've kind of touched on it, but why do you feel it's important to do these events in this sense? You kind of answered that, though.
I mean, I guess just to sum it up a little bit is, I think that sports is one of humans' greatest inventions, or man's greatest inventions. And if we didn't have sports, think about how dull and what a massive piece of pop culture, everyday life that sports play in our lives. But I think more importantly, just me having, grown up an athlete and a collegiate athlete, sports taught me so much about grit, finishing what you start, commitment and dedication, having a sense of identity, developing traditions, developing friendships, and carrying on memories over the course of your athletics that really do help you to be shaped into, I think, the potential for a pretty successful human being. Those skills that are happening on the field really do translate to the business world, to your academics, and so I believe I'm an American patriot, and I believe that when the Olympics come around, when World Series come around, when World Cup comes around, one thing that I think unites Americans is when we see American teams doing amazing things, and we feel that pride. And so our role in FC Tucson is to say, hey, here's the bright spots in our community. We might be the pro team. Not every kid is going to be a professional player, but if we can put professional players in front of these kids, it helps them to kind of think bigger about themselves, and it's more of a tangible reality to push themselves maybe to things that they didn't think that they could ordinarily do.
Right, and that kind of leads into this question too about how bringing a player like Donnie Toya back to Tucson to help like kids here and stuff like that.
Well, I tell you what, again, when I first moved here, one of the first questions I asked was, who was our team archivist? Who knows the history of this club, and do we have it cataloged somewhere? And we did. Dave Ord is our red hat at our games, and then he also is managing and has been managing all the history of the club since inception. So when I started reading the history when I came here, I kept seeing Donnie Toya's name, and then I said, hey, Perlman, who's this Donnie Toya? And of course his photo's on our wall. He was playing for RSL at the time, and he's kind of a legend to this team. He scored the first ever goal of FC Tucson in franchise history. He really is a type of athlete that is both gifted and talented, but I think he's got a mindset and a little bit of chip on his shoulder, like I think a lot of people in Tucson have, to want to excel, and obviously he did. And I know in working in this business that we have to tell the stories of the homegrown talent that's come through this town, and we have to prop them up and tell their great story. And so, um, when the opportunity came up that Donnie was released from his contract with the Timbers, um, and he wanted to come home, we were able to work out a contract with him that he felt good about. And, he still has gas in the tank. So even though he's 30 years old and an MLS veteran, you see clearly he's still very fit, extremely talented, and a super exciting player to watch. And so that signing to me is far beyond just the results on the field. It's the sort of tangible goodness that we get when the community hears a familiar name, or they're like, hey, that's a CDO grad. I go to CDO. I want to see this happen for myself. Or I just want to support a kid's, somebody's local story. So any opportunity that we have to bring homegrown talent, and we know we've got Justin Glad and a few other players that are out, playing in the MLS right now. I would love to be able to bring those players home and see like that the work that these coaches are doing at these really young ages does actually have an impact. And to see those things sort of full circle, we're living in a time now in American soccer where that didn't used to exist, because until 1996 the MLS didn't exist, and before that, very few cities in America had professional soccer. Now you've got professional soccer in 100 different markets across the U.S., which means 24 playing opportunities for every one of those 100 teams. So now young men who are going into college, in fact, a lot of our first year pros that we signed this year, they were just in college for 4 years. This league was started in 2019. So when they went into college, they had no idea of second and third division soccer existing. And so while these young men might be going to college and studying business or, psychology or whatever they study, now they can come out and go, well, I just played soccer at a great D1 school. I still have gas in the tank. Who knows when a player is going to actually mature? Maybe I'll give it a shot, play pro, get paid to play pro, and I'll use my, education later. But for now, I'm gonna go play soccer, travel the country, and make some great friends. So it's important that the younger generation coming up now see these young men, because they're kind of carrying that first. They're kind of the first class of these kids that are coming out of college that are playing pro and helping to build a stronger future sort of soccer pyramid in the country. So.
Yeah, I always joke, like when my parents said I was born in the wrong year, because I was born in '92, and Perlman was actually my high school coach. That's another reason doing this and stuff. But I was like, I wanted to be a pro soccer player so bad growing up, and like you were just saying, there was nothing growing up just about. Now, so many opportunities.
Yeah,
it's awesome, but I feel bad for myself in a sense, because I'm like, darn it.
Right, and I mean, but you're giving back by, giving our little organization here a little love, and that's so much of how soccer is going to advance in this country is people like you who have just a modicum of, passion or interest in what we're doing, and then telling that story. It can't just come from the club. It can't just come from me all the time. We need the parents who are on the sidelines at these youth soccer tournaments taking an interest in what we're doing. Because I know there's parents on those sidelines who are watching Premier League, they're watching Serie A, they're talking about Messi, and they're talking about Mbappe and all these amazing players. But I mean, that's the 1% of the 1% that make it to the Premier League, And so I think it's really important that in soccer, we broaden the age of when kids kind of drop out. Most kids kind of stop competitive soccer right between the ages of 12 and 13 when they kind of go into high school. And because of Title IX and some other things, you're seeing less and less opportunities for men in the college D1 side, in particular for college scholarships. And I'm not to poo-poo Title IX, but obviously, University of Arizona, it has a men's club team that Kyle Cornell, our director of soccer ops, actually coaches. But I talked to Becca Moros, the U of A women's coach. She was a professional for 14 years. She's coming from the professional side. She had in her mind, screw college, I'm going to go be a pro soccer player. And I think a lot of young women aren't thinking of themselves that way because, again, their youth system is only got them focused on the tournament that weekend, the training that week, and then a D1 or a community college or a college scholarship. They're not thinking, hey, and I'll speak specifically for women, like most women don't grow up thinking they're going to be a professional athlete, at least not my generation. I wanted to be an Olympic swimmer. I guess I kind of wanted to be a professional athlete in that regard. It just didn't really exist. There wasn't professional swimming opportunities. And if there were, you had to be like a Michael Phelps, the highest of the highest in the world. So I think what you're going to see in the coming years is a lot more education because of these United Soccer League teams in markets like where I came from, Albuquerque, where I've worked in Tulsa, El Paso, Tucson, Colorado Springs, cities that are smaller, have greater connection and a stronger community fabric, and are desperate to have some sort of like sport that rallies the community together. And I know we have U of A, and the U of A is great, and there's sort of the ceiling in terms of what we think the art of the possible is here. But we just think that there might be another banner or another flag that Tucsonans can really identify with, and we think it through this platform.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Let's see. Last one real quick. Are you working on any other partnerships right now that you know of, or any future plans for
Well,
like that?
I want to say a couple things about the sponsors of the club. Running a professional sports team, we pay for our player housing. Our players are on guaranteed contracts. Our travel is $250,000 a year. When you have to pick up and fly 15 different times into small, cities like Greenville, South Carolina, or, South Georgia. And so every sponsor that comes to the table is really helping to keep this team alive. And in 2020, again, I got here with such short notice. We were probably running 9 months behind every other League One team. League One had started in 2019. I show up in 2020, got to get the MLS preseason event on, then we got to go coach. And then the pandemic hit. And so in that short amount of period that I was here from January to March, the sponsors that we did sign on, the partners that we did, Chapman Automotive, Rideshare, Carf, those sponsors didn't ask for any of their money back when we said we're not going to have fans in the stands, and we're going to, with all the things that we had to face in 2020. And so the partnerships there, it's so much more than just an exchange of, money for services. It's the stamp of approval from a beloved local business that's saying, pro soccer is really important to this community, and I want to invest in it because of all the things that I've talked about. So fast forward to this year, we did some really great hiring in the off season, and we've put a dedicated team of corporate partnerships together, and it's a women-led team. And I think, and I mention that because I just think that women kind of think a little bit more differently than guys, not bad or good, just differently. And the women that are running this are really thinking community first. And so a lot of times when we're sitting at the table with Pima Community College or Casino del Sol or some of these other organizations that you see at U of A games, we know they have an interest in supporting sports. It's just a matter of finding the right mix and how we want to tell that story. So right now, we're looking at renewals for next season. Obviously, we created an autograph zone this year, and that came with the posters, and you see how all the kids get the posters signed after every game. We'll probably, we're looking at who our jersey sponsors are going to be again next year. But I think this year was really a kind of foundation laying and a building where it gave us a chance to kind of show the world what we're capable of, and I hope people are watching our content and like our content. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that I have faith that the longer that we can kind of demonstrate this in the community, more and more interesting homegrown companies, national brands will come to us and say, we want to partner with you. But I will say this, I just thought of this. Yeah, we're interested in working with Tajín. So, the rim of micheladas and Mexican candy is the Tajín that you put on fruit, and it's such a iconic sort of staple at restaurants and part of la cultura here in Tucson. But it's a national, one of the biggest brands in the world for chili spices, and we kind of want to spice it up next year. And so right now we're putting some proposals together for Tajín, and we want to see our name next to Tajín in grocery stores. We want to see it at bars. We want to have fun activations in the stadium where we're serving drinks with Tajín. So I think that's a big one that I'm comfortable talking about. Yeah.
That's cool. I like how it's also on ESPN Plus too. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
which is integrated with Hulu. So yeah,
Right,
you can
so
watch
that's
the
cool.
games right from your living room.
That's pretty sweet. That's it. That's
Yeah.
all I
Okay,
got.
great. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.